Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Weekly Awakening Podcast. It is your host, Cosmic Colleen, back with another Astro update. Guys, the week is here. Saturn is about to move into Pisces. The week that we have been anticipating, the beginning of a very long month, is about to begin. And we're kicking it off with a full moon in Virgo, guys. All right? So tomorrow morning, around 6 in the morning, the moon is exactly full. Okay, so the full moon means that the moon goes opposite the sun. Now, for all my veteran astrology listeners, you already know that, but just in case some people listening don't know that. And so we have the moon in Virgo, okay, bright and full, going opposite the sun in Pisces, okay. Mercury is in Pisces, Virgo's ruling planet. And then we have Saturn literally 2 hours after the exact full moon moving into Pisces opposite the moon. Tomorrow is going to be a very interesting day. It's going to be a very interesting week. I know this all kind of sounds scary and rough. And for some, it might be. Not to give like a bearer of bad news, but not all astrology is easy, you know? And sometimes I get annoyed, and that's just my own patience I try to work on when no one wants to hear the bad stuff. Or it's not bad. No one wants to hear the harder stuff or the tougher stuff. They just want to hear the easy stuff. They just want to hear when good things are coming. They just want to, good things are this, good things are that. Well, guess what? There's no more denying the truth. And in order to really get good, you have to learn how to swim, how to dive in the dark, heavy stuff. And so what I know in my experience with myself and as well as others, when we ignore that tough stuff, we're still in denial. But those layers of pain, those layers of misunderstanding are still in us, in our subconscious, acting out in various ways and causing us anxiety, causing us all these underlining things. Yet we don't realize that the key to getting through all of that is to face the uncomfortable truth and face our shit, face pain, face hardship, face all those things, okay? And so usually if you say, hey, I can handle anything that life throws at my way, I'm a strong, bad bitch, emotions won't kill me, you'll be fine. Now, if you are someone who sometimes tends to get into the victim energy, the denial energy, the ignoring energy, this is going to be a lot tougher for you. It really is. So gear up, babies. All right. I want to thank everyone who continues to support this podcast. I'm fully self-supporting, with my hairstylist revenue with this podcast 4 years strong. And, the best way that you can really support me right now is to send this to a friend, subscribe, rate, review, comment on my social media posts of astrology. All of that gets this podcast out there. And right now, that is how we can help me best. So I appreciate everyone who continues to do that. My long-term listeners, you guys have been amazing. You're always popping up doing shit like that for me. And I really, really appreciate that. Follow me on social media, Cosmic Colleen, with one C in the middle, across all boards. You want to do that, especially TikTok is number one. I mean, I post in my YouTube shorts. I post some of my videos on Instagram and Facebook, but the majority of them are always there. I sit and I look and I go and I feel and I intuitively write out this message. I spent hours doing this, okay, and really paying attention to what this is going to feel like for all of us. And then when I'm out there living it, I come up with more things and then I put them on my TikTok. So that's why I say you want to do that, especially if you want to really stay updated and figure out what is going on. So this majority of this episode is going to be the full moon in Virgo. And then we're tying that into Saturn moving into Pisces. Again, it's really interesting. We're kicking off Saturn moving into Pisces with a full moon, like bam, right there, And when Saturn moved into, which is really interesting, we've kind of had some big move-ins with Saturn. When Saturn moved into Aquarius, it conjoined Jupiter, moved right into Aquarius, conjoined Jupiter. It conjoined Jupiter at the end of Capricorn, and then December of 2021, they both moved into Aquarius together. They moved into Aquarius together, which was a really big thing to happen. I mean, the last time they conjoin every, 22 years, and then the last time they had conjoined in Aquarius, I believe, was like 100 years or something like that. Something crazy like that. Might be off. Don't do my exact math. But a long time since they both met up in Aquarius. And then Jupiter has left. Jupiter is the whole way in Aries now. But Saturn stayed in Aquarius for 2.5 years. And I want to talk about that and also talk about how it's going to feel, because the last 5 years, Capricorn, Aquarius, Saturn has been in its home sign, right? Both in ancient astrology are both Aquarius and Capricorn. It's home signs, home domiciles. So it's going to behave a little differently now that it's going into Pisces. Again, we're going to talk about that, but I want to start with this full moon. We're feeling it today. We're waking up on this Monday with this full moon. We started to feel it yesterday. Okay, so this full moon, it's going to feel confusing, creatively blocked, yet creatively having breakthroughs. We're also going to have some emotional breakthroughs, and we're also going to have some emotional blocks. Do you get what I'm saying? To get a better idea, you want to know your birth chart and exactly how this is going to affect you. Okay, this is the general energy, but depending on your birth chart, you're going to feel it more or less. Obviously, my mutable signs are going to feel this the most because this is happening in our angular houses 1, 4, 7, and 10. And we got Saturn, which has not been in a mutable sign for 5 years, coming into our sign. So we are really going to be feeling this, the strongest mutable signs again. That's what I'm saying. And it's happening in the other houses for other people, and it won't be as strong. So I'm also going to give you guys a little bit of a horoscope for my mutable signs out there on this episode. So when I say confusion, creative mental blocks, and breakthroughs, I feel as though the mutable signs, we often live in creative energy and it flows through us quite easily. We have no problem being creative with the way we talk, think, speak, act, and just are all over creations with our hands. Again, we move creatively. You'll find that the most creative signs tend to have a lot of mutable energy in them. And you will find that the ones that are more cardinal or fixed, not to say that they're not creative, but their creation is a little more structured, especially my Saturn ruled signs, I would say really the most structured you're actually going to find Capricorns, Aquariuses, even Cancers, right? It's a cardinal sign, and it's ruled by the moon, it's ever shifting, yet in its core, right, in the moon's core, it's very structured in its home environment and needs that to relax. And it needs its familiar comfort to relax. So I feel as though the signs, the mutable signs, where creative energy is flowing through you easily, there's actually going to be a little bit blocked with this full moon. I think we might feel not as creative, or we aren't so loose about our creations. We're actually more structured with our creations, which is a good thing. So I know for me, I'm all over with my creations, but already in the last week since it's building up, I've been way more organized and a little bit more structured. So I'm hoping it's playing out like that for me. I'm all mutable and not a creative block. But even if it happens, I know that it won't be forever. So I feel as though, again, my normally structured, sort of linear, kind of logical thinking people who like things very tangible and not always in that creative flow easily are actually going to be quite creative. I think you guys are going to have a little bit of breakthrough. I think when it moves over out of Aquarius, there won't be so much stiff energy, and you'll feel like you're normally structured and can create business and things like that, but now you're going to be able to bring that creative energy in to what you want to create and be able to be a little more open and live a little bit freer. You guys might also just be more open to esoteric, otherworldly kinds of studies, like astrology or something, send this podcast to like all your Capricorn friends. I have one listener though. She's got a big Capricorn stellium, so she loves this show. So I get it. It's not just, I give Capricorns we think they're always behind a desk, but actually Capricorns are quite misunderstood. Saturn sign, and we'll tie this into Saturn. They're actually quite open to this other world. Sometimes it comes blocked, but there is this, there is this almost, I don't want to say like Jesus Bible-ness, but there is this freedom or this understanding that there is something greater, right? But it's not so free-flowing. Saturn is the planet of karma, But within that is like a deep understanding. It's like that beautiful creation that happens after death, whether it's death of yourself. I mean, not physically, but, emotionally, mentally, death of another person, death in general. And I know when we say that, like, that's just get it out of our heads that we're thinking actual physical body, just death of soul, and then the rebirth, right? But when we get to that death, that place that feels like death to us, it's almost like we're then blown open to raw understanding and raw creation, which Saturn really can bring to us. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit more about this full moon, and then we'll tie more into Saturn. Again, both are kind of going together. We're going to talk about Saturn and Pisces with this full moon since it's kicking off in Virgo. Now, I think a big theme for this full moon and the kickoff to Saturn and Pisces is going to be expressing your truth to people. Now, be careful, everyone, today, tomorrow, the next day, because we have Virgo, and Virgo energy can be very blunt, straight to the point, and almost come off like not sensitive at all, like they do not care. And then you got Pisces, which sometimes can be a little bit in the care too much, be very sensitive. They can be very triggered of the energy that someone is saying it. And that's why you might be like, oh, you're being sensitive, but they feel the energy underneath that comment. And so I feel that there can be some arguments, and the arguments, they won't be too bad or blow up or be so permanent, but it's going to be more so around why would someone being too blunt and the other person being too sensitive, and someone saying, why were you so mean? And the other person saying, why are you so sensitive? Those kind of battles, those kind of fights are probably going to be happening the next couple days. So just watch your mouth, watch your tongue. If you feel something boiling, if you know that you have to have a conversation with someone where it normally doesn't go well or you guys don't meet eye to eye, just remember that in your communication. And sometimes I always like to if I know I'm going to have an important conversation with someone, sometimes I'll write it out and write it out twice, especially if I'm full of emotion, I'll write out the real emotional part first and then get that out of the way and then write it again and really think, how can I do this? Because any conversation that we bring to someone, we actually can control the energy, but it's what do we bring? One of the two people are going to have a more control over the energy of the situation, and let that be you. Start by saying, hey, before I have this conversation, I'm going to pray, meditate, have some sort of visual ritual where I can come from a wholehearted place. And it will allow me to, bring peace and stay grounded. Because it can be hard with that, also staying grounded in fights like this. We have Saturn, right, which is normally a grounding sign, loves to stay grounded, loves to stay comfortable in that energy, moving into Pisces where it's not grounded at all. You know what I mean? Pisces are like the most ungrounded sign of everyone. So it's going to be really interesting how that plays out. Let me skip over okay. So with the full moon, truth, you know what I mean? There's going to be no longer truth that you can deny. Mutable signs, you guys are going to want to get your shit together when you see these truths in some way. Now, when I say shit together, it doesn't mean like not everyone it's so bad where you have to like, oh my God, how am I going to pay rent? How am I going to do this? No, shit together in small ways, whether it's like, fine tuning your exercise or stopping smoking or, find something that, okay, this is no longer serving me. This is affecting my soul, mind, body, spirit. I need to get my shit together. That type of truth. And we can see truths in ourselves that we can't deny anymore, truths that we feel, as well as the truths in others. And I say that because with Saturn moving into Pisces, Saturn will bring truths and harsh truths, honestly, usually harsher than we're ready to see. But in Pisces, it's moving into the illusionary. And Pisces is like, doesn't want to see the truth. It denies everything. So I think at first, the full moon can bring like an inevitable, like shocking, hard truth. I really don't think most people are going to be denying it, actually. I think that will come, there's going to be a lot happening with Saturn in Pisces. It's going to be there for 2.5 years. So that will come. But I think at first it's going to be these hard truths that you can no longer deny. So my signs, my Gemini risings, truth around your workplace or career. Now, someone could be revealing itself in your workplace and career and some truth. You could really have some sort of, oh my God, I don't even think I want to do this job anymore. There also can be, with that, remember, I like to add the good stuff, rewards. Rewards in the workplace. In general, it is moving to your 10th house for the next 2.5 years. So there is going to be, especially when earned and deserved, lots of rewards. But at first, it's going to be a truth. Almost like maybe even you might feel like, is this really what I want to do with my life? Or how can I bring more structure and create a harder foundation to build my career even more? Things like that. Either way, truth around work and career. Maybe you'll say, oh, you know what? Actually, I got to work a little harder. Maybe I haven't worked too hard and now I got to work harder again. Okay, Virgo risings, that's me. Hello, I'm already feeling it. I should have a whole other episode about what's happening since with me. But truth with yourself, okay? Self-truth. Things within you can no longer deny. The clarity. Maybe you see the clarity of the relationship and you realize you have grown beyond it. You can no longer deny that. Truth with what really makes you happy. Truth about what really makes you sad. Truth about your relationship with another, but more like how is that relationship affecting you? Not necessarily how you're affecting them, but how is that relationship affecting you? So truth with self. For my Virgo risings, we're going to have some mental downloads and some much needed clarity that is going to come with truth. But again, for my Virgo risings, it's going to be around self. Like the core of this, it might be a reflection through someone or something else, but it's going to be related back to your own truth in your core. My Sag risings, truth with family and the foundation. This can at first bring up some pain, some family pain, some familiar pain, and the foundation, but you're going to see the truth. Maybe you'll see or hear the truth about how something played out in your childhood, and you'll finally understand that. And that could come through pain. That could also be healing, depending on where you are in your own journey with it, and freeing. You might free yourself from some family karma, some burdens, some mental burdens that had been there. You are now freeing. You might see just a truth in a family member, something you weren't expecting. And maybe you'll find truth in like, oh, actually, I want this. I want a family life. I want a home. I want to settle down. You know, my Sag rising, Sag, they don't always want to settle that. So truth within family, your own internal family, and what you want to create. Pisces, truth in relationships. I know my Pisces risings, this Virgo moon is happening in relationships. So, you know, the Virgo rising, we're looking at ourselves through that. But in Pisces, we're going to look at other people and their relationship in relation to you. So this isn't going to be so much more affected by you feeling your truth like it is with Virgo, the self-truth. You're going to see the truth in another. You're going to see the truth in a partner. You're going to see a truth maybe in a business partnership. Or you're just going to see the truth of the type of people you date and why maybe it's not working. Or, you know, unfortunately or fortunately, maybe some of you will see the truth in a partner you currently have. But I think more so just your reflection of relationships, your reflection over why you choose the people you do and how you partnership. So it's going to be truth around another. Okay, Virgo, truth with self, and with Pisces, truth with another in relationships. And with Saturn moving into your first house, I think there's going to be a little bit of getting your shit together. Where do I need to get a little bit stricter with myself? Where do I need to stop doing in La La Land? How can I get things together? Next week on these next couple weeks, we're really going to be talking about the Saturn and Pisces. Next week, I'm going to do a little horoscope for Saturn. This is sort of my mutable signs and what we're going to feel with this full moon. But next week, I'll have a better of like Saturn moving to everyone's sign and what's that going to happen. That's going to be on next week's episode. And remember, a lot of our anxiety comes from not acknowledging the truth or having to speak it and having to speak our truth. And at first it's like we deny our truth and we feel this underlying current of anxiety or stress because, and some things in our head is saying, no, this is not the truth. You're not speaking your truth. You're not living your truth. Or you got to tell that person your truth. And that's that underlying anxiety of speaking our truth. I feel like half the people in this world have anxiety over that alone. I know more people who are scared to speak their truth. I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, 80% of people that I come across, like as a whole, that's a big number, but that's how many people I talk one-on-one all day, deeply personal with people all day long. And that is the core. About 80% of people, they're scared to speak their truth, live their truth, acknowledge their truth, tell other people their truth. They are scared. So a lot of our anxiety is in that because when we are not in our truth, okay, think about limbo when you purposely know you're not in your truth by limbo, right? Sometimes we actually know we're not in it. Think about how uncomfortable that is. Now, go to your other anxiety when you don't realize, right, at first that you're living your truth. You feel that, but when you break down your anxiety, you realize it's coming from not living, speaking, being your truth. And if you're not sure what your truth is, you're going to be finding out. So we can sit. I went over, my friend Mike. I've been, like I said, each week I've been doing some spiritual healing with various people in Chester County and kind of building a community out here, which has been really, really great. And so we did a little bit of a retreat on Saturday. And they, during the sound bowl healing, they also, this friend, Will, I can't remember what the instrument was. That's why I sound distracted. It almost kind of looked like a small accordion. I can't remember what he said, but it wasn't like that. And when he played it, we did heart chakra, like speaking, where we hummed from our throat really loudly in that. And so it was such a throat chakra opener. And, afterwards, when we were calm and we were in meditation, I was looking up and there was this blue light, which represents the throat chakra. And these words kept coming to me and I'm going to share them with you. And this is a good ritual or meditation with this full moon to do. I am truth. I speak truth. I understand truth. I see truth. I feel truth. Now, you can take any of those, or even you get the point. You might come up with 10 more like that, but write it down, okay? And if you don't want to write it down, you can pick one. Let's say I am truth. That's it. It can be very simple if you need it to be simple. And spend all day today, tomorrow, maybe even the whole week, if as much as you remember, and just say to yourself, I am truth. I am truth. Sit and meditate, close your eyes. If there's something you want truth about, focus on that and say, I see truth. I see truth. You could go, like I did and do a full-blown sort of meditation, guided meditation, lay down, get some lights, do those things. But it can also be as simple as I am truth and I see truth. But definitely focus on that. And that will help bring the truth. And it usually helps when you invite spirit to anything. When you pray and you invite spirit and you say, hey, spirit, I got to see some truth and I need you to be here guiding with me and kind of holding my hand. Spirit will. Your angels, ancestors, guides, they will. So just ask if you're feeling scared of this truth, if you're feeling nervous about finding out clarity, ask your spirit guides to be there with you and help you guide through that because they will be. They will be there. When we speak our truth, that's our throat chakra. And then whenever we use the I am statements, that's our power source. That's the solar plexus. So we are then creating this truth and then we're tying it to our power so then we can really be in our truth and be powerful in our truth. But in order to gain that, we have to see these truths. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Saturn moving into Pisces. And again, next week's episode will be even more about that. I just wanted to really kick off the full moon in Pisces. I mean, the full moon in Virgo going opposite, again, Mercury in Pisces and then the Saturn in Pisces. So when Saturn moves into Pisces, remember, it's been in Aquarius, which is an air sign, but there's a restriction still there. And then it was in its own sign in Capricorn before that, which if you remember before COVID, it conjoined Jupiter, I think twice, 3 times a year. And both 2 different times I remember is when the COVID sort of broke out, like when it broke out and then broke out again in the summertime. So we're now moving from its own home domicile where it's happy, it's comfortable, it knows how to do this into Pisces, the end of the zodiac. And in Pisces, it flows. It's moving from resistance to flow. And Saturn might be like, what the fuck is this? Oh my God, all these people around here. No one's following direction. So there can be this in our life, in those two houses, Aquarius to Pisces, this flow, this jumping into the unknown territory, and how do we grow and expand and learn when we jump into that unknown territory. And why it's can be tough is because Saturn doesn't do well there. Saturn is like, wait, what am I doing here? I need the logic. I need to make sense, and I'm in this world that doesn't make sense. And so, Saturn is comfortable with restriction. Saturn is comfortable with stopping and blocking and going slow. It's not comfortable with flow. It's not comfortable with jumping in and winging it and flowing it, all those good mutable Pisces signs. And so we can struggle with wanting reality, making it tangible, but all of a sudden it doesn't feel like it is tangible anymore. We might have some things dissolve that once were concrete, once were solid, they've been good for a while, been riding, and now it's dissolving. Why? There's many reasons why it could dissolve, because it was no longer meant to be on your path. It could get, everything is hindsight. We don't know until we get there and we look back and say, oh, okay, that makes sense. That's why that is happening. It also likes, like I said, tangible. It's Earth. It wants to feel something. And then it's entering a domicile where it's really not about feeling something tangible, physical. It's about feeling something emotional. It's about believing and seeing things that you can no longer see or touch. And that is where a lot of the anxiety is, where the uncomfortable energy is going to come around. Again, the mutable signs are going to get their shit together. And some of us might already be starting to. I know for me, Saturn's been in my 6th house, and I've been talking about in the 6th house is the house of hard work, sacrifice, strife, but it's not an easy house. It's a harder house. It's a hard house with lessons and things like that. And so when it moved into my 6th house, I kind of took a break in a way. I mean, yes, I'm constantly working. That's what I do. I love to work. I love to create. But I went from COVID, work, doing all this crazy stuff, and which I was able to do that whole first, year and a half, year of COVID. And while I was in my 5th house and went into my 6th house, I kind of stopped. Like, I worked, but I started to play a lot more. And I started to play too much. As a mutable sign, I can get lost in worlds that aren't good for me, and I can easily want destruction and chaos. The Gemini in me, I can. And I started to just, in a way, I'm happy. I slowed down. I lived a good life. I enjoyed life. I did things, but near the end of this, and now Saturn's been on my descendant, and it's been conjunct Mars in 0 degrees of, I have it right on the descendant between the 6, it's in Pisces, 0 degrees just over my descendant. And it's been there, and for the last while, but definitely the last month or so, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get my shit together again, like emotionally, spiritually, or mentally. I've been absent in a lot of ways. I've been having fun, but too much fun, and it's too much fun for me. It's not fun I love having fun every day, but meaning it doesn't lead to good fun. It leads to destructive fun. I was having some destructive fun, if I'm being honest with you. And now, since the month when it started to get into that 3-degree range, I'm like getting my shit together finally. So for my mutable signs, we already might be feeling that way. We might already, like I said, get the shit together, but it's not going to be a sudden surprise. We already have an idea over this last little bit how we want to get our shit together. Whew. Okay, so it's almost 30 minutes. And usually I like to keep these under 25, so I'm going to end this now. You guys get the idea for this full moon, what to expect, what to understand, what's going to be happening. But things will come with flow, less resistance. And so if something dark happens, it will actually be quite mutable, changeable, and shiftable, and our attitude will flow like that as well. So there are good things. Next week, like I said, I'll be coming back at you with more Saturn and Pisces, more details, more ideas. Again, I wanted to sort of make this episode about the kickoff to Saturn in Pisces and what we can expect with the full moon. I hope everyone has a beautiful full moon. I hope that Saturn brings you guys lots of rewards And if it does bring lessons that you are actually grateful for. And if you aren't grateful for yet, you will be, but not until the divine timing. I love you all. Thank you again for supporting me. I hope you have a fabulous week, and I'll be back next week.